What happens when law, business, and life collide? Each week on Lead Counsel, your host Tom Tona will take a deep dive into topics related to the law, the business of law, and life. There will be insightful discussions with industry insiders, experts, and thought leaders making significant contributions and meaningful differences in their fields of expertise. Tom is the founder and managing attorney at TonaLaw. He has been a practicing attorney since 1994 and the leader of TonaLaw since it opened in 2001. The goal of this podcast is to provide you with free information on law and the business of law, and to give you actionable tools related to each of these areas. Now, here's Tom.
Welcome to the Lead Counsel Podcast. I'm your host, Tom Tona. I'm here with Juliet, my most of the time co-host, my good friend, and my marketing person at TonaLaw. What's up, Jules?
Hello, good afternoon, everybody.
How we doing?
Doing well.
Doing good?
Can't complain.
Awesome.
Yep.
It's a beautiful day out. Spring is finally here in New York, so I'm happy.
My favorite season.
So I want to welcome everybody to the Lead Counsel Podcast. I am super excited about today's episode because we're talking about something that I love to talk about, which is core values and the importance of core values to a company. And the core values are the foundation of our culture, which I'll also be talking about today. So I'm super excited about that. You know, I talk about it all the time.
Yep.
So let's dive right in.
All right. Where do you want to begin?
Basically what core values are, right? So core values are the deeply ingrained principles and philosophies that guide everything in a company. Hiring decisions, firing decisions, how we onboard and train, how we interact with clients, how we interact with the general public, how we interact with each other. We have 6 core values that guide everything we do here. They really are guiding principles. So when I hire people, when we look to do reviews, we use a sheet that has the core values on it, and it's a simple analysis. Plus, minus, or minus. And those are pretty self-evident as far as what they are. And that comes from the EOS traction model that Gino Wickman made famous in his book, Traction. So our company's core values are superior lawyering, people first, kind candor, innovation and improvement, mindset, and discipline. And I'm going to go through all of those today, but we really crystallize these down with the help of our leadership team, 2 different coaches in the last 10 years of really taking them from the beginning when they were more aspirational and stuff that we wanted as part of the culture to what we really are, who we really are. And they were developed kind of scientifically, like we looked at our best team members and we said, well, what if we had 100 of these people, what are their qualities and what made them so spectacular that if we had 100 of them, we'd be dominating the world, right? When we did that exercise, we really crystallized that these core values are who we are as an organization and the team members living and breathing these.
Yeah.
So an office culture is the shared values, right? The shared core values, the belief systems, the attitudes, and the set of assumptions that people in a workplace share. And that's from Forbes magazine. So your culture is the collective embodiment of the core values. The impact on a business's success, to me, it is the single most important factor for a company's success are the core values and the culture that gets created around the core values.
Yeah. And you definitely drill that down any chance that you get.
Let's say you and I are talking about somebody that's an exemplary new hire. It's typically because they're in alignment with our core values.
Yeah.
They're in alignment with the culture. The culture speaks to them. And how I know right now we're at the epitome of what we've ever been as far as talent, recruiting, onboarding, and retention. It's all because of the core values.
Yeah.
That's what I attribute it to. And I hear so many people complaining about how difficult it is to hire, but it's not difficult for us. It's been actually pretty significantly easy because we're unfolding a plan for recruiting that's really revolves around our core values. And the impact on the business has been astronomical. We had probably the best first quarter we've ever had as a law firm ever in 22 years of business.
And the core values used to be like when I started working here, they were like a laundry list long. And I remember it was on this board.
There were 9.
9. Which it's pretty long.
Yeah,
and
no, it's too long. It's too long.
That
Like,
was
people
long.
aren't going to remember them, right? Like, this is just super simple, easy to remember. And the benefits of having a strong culture and strong core values that are real, and I'll draw a contrast to that somewhere down the road in this conversation, but our employee engagement is consistently measured by one of our business coaches, one of my executive coaches, Patrick Wilson, measures our employee engagement once a year. We do a team survey, and he surveys probably 50 firms across the country to 80 firms across the country every year. And every year he's ever had us as part of it, we have ranked far and away number 1 in employee satisfaction and employee engagement. And those surveys are done anonymously, so people are free to answer however they want. But we have a truly engaged culture of high-performing team members.
Yeah. And they've also helped us be able to grow to size. Like, we've
Scaling,
multiplied.
you're talking about scaling, but maintaining quality. It's not just about the numbers. I can hire warm bodies all day long, but I refuse to not hire for my culture and my core values. Productivity is through the roof, and retention is very high, right? So these are all benefits of having a real culture built around real core values. And I'll tell you how I know when I read employment ads and when I kind of survey the landscape.
Yeah.
When people have been trying to dial it in. I'll just leave it at that, but we'll circle back to it. So, as I said earlier, our core values are 6 very simple concepts, but not that simple when you really dig deeper. So the first one, superior lawyering. I tried to define what I used to do when I was lawyering on files. And that was strategic, obsessed, meticulous lawyering, every case, every time.
Yeah.
If we take a case in, I feel that it's our responsibility to the clients that we give them the best lawyering they can get. And what I tell the attorneys that work here with me is I want lawyering that if you were lawyering for me as a client, I would expect. And I have really high standards because when somebody's paying money, I feel they should be getting top-notch white glove delivery of legal services. So, somebody might say, well, PI clients don't pay money. No, they do. They pay money on the back end, and they pay a lot of money on big cases. Every client that we sign as a client deserves high-level legal services. Otherwise, we should not be taking the case.
Yep.
So that's superior lawyering. People first, which has been one of my primary core values forever, is a prioritization list of people that will interrelate with the office and how they should be treated. So people first means putting everybody in this organization and their families first. Their families come first. So if you call me and you're like, you did it last week. Do you mind me talking about it?
Go right ahead.
You came in, you're a little bit upset and you're like, a family member has been in the hospital. They don't know what it is. They're running cardiac testing. You're like, I'm going to take my laptop. I'm going to work from home. I got to be there.
Yeah.
I said, all right. Right. Yeah. I'm not throwing the laptop. I'm not telling you. I'm saying go.
Yeah.
Go. You work from where you want. If you need off, take off.
And that's how it goes for everybody in the office,
Right.
too.
So people first means first, everybody's family obligations come first. So many people in the office have kids. Their kids come first. My daughter comes first. I don't miss anything for my daughter. I have not missed an event since she's been born, nor will I. Many times, I'm in the minority of fathers that are at the events that I go to for my daughter. But
I know.
To me, that's why we do what we do, is to have this business serve us so we can have the lives that we dream of or want.
Yeah. And then by you putting everybody in the firm first and their families first, that allows all of us to be able to put the clients first.
Well, so that's where the priorities come from, right?
Yeah.
So first is family. Everybody's family is a priority to everybody else here. Then the team, right? Now, I've had clients in the past be like, what do you mean your team comes before the client? That's ridiculous. And typically those clients want to treat the staff subhuman or inhuman, and that's just not tolerated. So when we have that conversation, like, my job as the owner of the firm and all of my team leaders is to put the team first, right? After their families, the team is first. So by putting the team first, then they can put the clients first. I don't interface with the clients really anymore, right? But the team is well taken care of, the team can then take care of the clients, right? And it's kind of the oxygen mask theory. You know, when a plane is going through turbulence or, God forbid, something bad has happened on a plane, the oxygen mask drops, and the first thing they tell you is put your oxygen mask on first. Why? So you can help other people. You're no good if you lose oxygen, you can't help other people.
Yeah.
So I've always taken that approach to the team, putting them first, the clients, letting the team put the clients first, and then last comes management. And that's important that management's in there, because human nature is you'll have a certain segment of the population that doesn't really give a damn about me or my team leaders. And so then they're not in alignment with core values. Just because we come last doesn't mean we don't come at all.
Yeah.
Right? It means before you come in and make a demand, put yourself in management's shoes, put yourself in my chair, and not literally, figuratively. Don't put yourself in my chair. I'm going to walk in tomorrow morning and see you in my chair, Jules. But show that you're showing respect to anybody that you're dealing with is what it comes down to. Kind candor. Kind candor is the next one. It's a concept from Gary Vaynerchuk's book, 12 and a Half. And it was an instrumental, pivotal chapter in that book, because I realized not only are there lawyers and owners that really can't be candorous because they're either afraid of conflict or it just makes them feel uncomfortable to be direct, especially if it's not positive. But the concept of kind candor was very freeing to me, because it set me free to be very clear about standards we have for the law firm. And if there wasn't a meeting of those standards, how to address it. So you being kind, but you're being direct.
Yes.
And people then know where they stand. Now, they don't have to like what you're saying. That's okay. But the standards are the standards, and it is what it is. And we define kind candor as in all communication, striving for complete honesty, authenticity, transparency, and kindness. And this is with clients, potential clients, each other, and anyone we interact with at all times.
Yep.
I had somebody in the past that would just have a hard time telling clients accurately, a paralegal at the time, years ago, probably more than 10 years ago, who just couldn't tell a client directly what the status of the case was if it was an uncomfortable thing, like whatever the judge was reporting on a file about what the judge was feeling on it, whatever it is, that person just struggled with direct candor, right?
Yeah.
Like kind candor.
I feel like a lot of people struggle with that, because I think people feel that any conversation where they have to deliver news that isn't necessarily the best, or just have like more of a difficult conversation, they find it like very confrontational. I mean, myself included. So kind candor is definitely like a huge one, because you can have kind of that confrontational conversation, but as long as it's in a kind and respectful way, your objective is going to get across.
But it depends on intention. So I was reading an article over the weekend about how to give corrective feedback, which has to happen in all businesses, in a way that is more effective, right? And it was all about intention. And the intention is are you going into the conversation with a intention to foster employee or team member growth, or are you going into it with an intention to punish somebody, right? And meaning always check your mindset.
Yeah. And on intention, there's this great book called The Power of Intention by Dr. Wayne Dyer. And he talks about like anything you do in your life is just all about your intention toward it. Not that you're never going to do wrong, but you could never go wrong if you're always going into every situation with the right intention.
Well, funny enough, I did a post today on LinkedIn.
Really?
I talk a lot about this stuff on LinkedIn. And the post that I did was the following. And this was at like, I was 4 o'clock in the morning this morning, but I was on the treadmill and I was thinking about this a lot. The role of intention cannot be understated in all things leadership. For any decision you make, check your intention. Close your eyes, meditate on it, do what you have to do, but know your intention going in every single time. Intention leads to results. So what I left out was, if you're going into something and you don't have good intentions, you're not going to get good results. Similarly, if you go into something with good intentions, it definitely goes a long way towards getting a better result. So again, that's why kind candor is so impactful, because you go into it automatically, you're thinking, you're coming from a place of kindness. That doesn't mean weakness, though. People have to understand, like when I talk to team members or family members or anybody, I'm very direct. And I know that doesn't always sit well with people, right? But it's just my communication style. Like I don't mince words. I feel like I'm always coming from a place of kindness, but it's not ever going to sound wishy-washy or weak. So I might say, listen, I want to talk to you about something that's important, and I want you to understand I have the best intentions as I'm telling you this, and you're a good person. It's not a reflection of who you are as a person. I just need to talk to you about your performance, or I need to talk to you about a behavior that I'm noticing that is not in alignment with my core values or whatever it is. And again, these principles kind of apply in my personal life too, because these core values are who I am.
You live and breathe these.
Yeah, but so do you.
Yeah,
right.
That's
so
true.
do you.
So do a lot of people in their seats, though. Like otherwise, they wouldn't be here.
Right. So the next core value is a combined innovation and improvement. Right. It's one core value, but there's two words that describe it. What I realized is we as a firm and me as a person and everybody here has an unwavering commitment to incremental and consistent innovation and improvement personally and professionally. One of the epiphanies I had very early on was that I can build a successful organization if I scale it and I tie every seat to the personal goals of the person sitting in that seat, as long as they tie into what's best for the firm and the long-term goals for the firm.
Yeah.
So you're very money motivated. We have talked many times about how to make more money and where the opportunities lie. Other people are not money motivated. They might be personal time motivated, or they might be family motivated. So really what I try to do is get to know people on an individual basis and take a individualized approach to management to get to know somebody. But everyone here, if somebody was to stop and ask them, hey, what are you working on? It's typically, whether it's in their personal life or professionally or both, there's something that they're looking to continually improve upon. Even if something's great, there's like a constant quest for betterment.
This one's my favorite, innovation and improvement, 100%.
And it's funny because different ones are different people's favorites.
Yeah, I actually made a whole TikTok about different people's favorite core values in the office. People first was a lot of everybody, like a majority of people's favorite one. But innovation and improvement, it's my favorite one.
Well, so for me, like you said, people first was a lot of people's favorite core value. There's a lot that as a leader, we don't get a handbook for how to do this. I mean, there are plenty of books out there, but you don't go to law school and learn how to become a good leader. You just don't. You don't learn how to become a business leader. Most of the time, you don't learn the business of law ever, which is why so many firms are struggling. But I think that by encompassing people first, even if we don't get something right, because we always put people first, they've got our back. They go, look, that we're human like everybody else, myself, the entire leadership team. So if we get something wrong, we say we're sorry and we move on. And the team gets it because we're always putting the team first. And then the next core value is mindset, mature, growth-oriented mindset. So from the book Carol Dweck, I'm not going to go into it. That would be a whole nother podcast where we talk about mindset. You either have a growth mindset or a fixed mindset. There is nobody in this firm that would survive long-term with a fixed mindset. Growth mindset is the belief that you can impact outcomes with effort, and it encompasses a concept called not yet, which says, if you teach a child a skill and they go, oh, I stink at this. Well, no, you don't stink. You just haven't mastered it yet. Not yet. So whether it's a team player, a team leader, or myself, I'm constantly looking to learn new skills. I never, ever get defeated and go, oh my God, I'm never going to learn this. I so stink at it. It's just a mindset of not yet. It's a skill. I can acquire a skill. And that is an integral core value in our firm. And then the last one is discipline. Disciplined thoughts, disciplined words, disciplined actions. Everybody wants freedom. And Patrick Wilson, the coach, said, if the Statue of Liberty is on the East Coast in New York, there should be a statue of discipline on the West Coast, because discipline equals freedom. That comes from Jocko Willink, the book, Discipline Equals Freedom, right? And he wrote the book, Extreme Ownership. The more disciplined you are, the more freedom that you will enjoy. It's just the way it is. And people don't always get that. They don't understand that. So you have to show that you're self-disciplined in the way you think, the way you communicate, and the way you act. All the time, all interactions. And that's just the way it is here, because we are very disciplined. People interview here, they go, everybody leaves at 5:01. Everybody. Attorneys, me, everybody's out the door. By 5:15, this place is a ghost town. There's nobody here. Why? Because everybody's working their ass off from 8:01 to 5:01 with a break in between. It's a point of diminishing returns because people are disciplined enough to sit at their desks and grind away and eliminate interruptions and manage their time and be grown-ups and do disciplined thinking, disciplined acting, and disciplined communication. So there's no waste. There's no inefficiency. By the time 5:01 rolls around, they're tired. And so I don't need the attorneys working till 11 o'clock at night. I guarantee you most attorneys that are working from, let's say, 9 in the morning to 11 o'clock at night have an incredible amount of waste in their day. Probably. Interruptions, undisciplined communication patterns, undisciplined meeting patterns, just a complete ton of waste that people would rather be home with their families. And that's why, even if they're not the most disciplined, they're willing to become disciplined and work on it because the perks of it are the freedom that you get with it.
Well, that's part of the growth mindset too. It's like the willingness to work on it.
Yeah, they're interrelated, right? And again, this is not going to be a culture for everybody. The benefits of a core values that we have and the culture that we have is it attracts the right people. So you notice the last 4 hires that we've had in the last 2-3 months have all been spectacular hires.
They're all amazing.
Amazing.
Yeah.
Do you know what that says about the culture and the core values? Similarly, those core values and culture will repel the people that shouldn't be here.
Yeah.
Because we live them, we breathe them, we talk about them on interviews. So that's what I want. The other thing is those core values breed a culture of self-policing. And what does that look like? You get a new hire comes in, they slip through the interview process because even as good as you are, the recruiting process, there's always a gamble. There's always a risk that you're not getting exactly what you need or whatever, right person, right seat. It's a self-policing culture where somebody like you who's here will say, hey, I'm seeing some stuff in the new hire that just, it's
not aligning. It's
not aligning. Like, please, let's just keep an eye on it or whatever. So it is self-policing to that extent. I don't really have to worry about micromanaging it. My team takes great pride in the work that they do. And they take great offense at people that are just looking to dial it in. There's no hiding in this organization. We're not a 400-person insurance defense department where you can have somebody just hiding, just collecting paycheck, lollygagging around. That's not what we do here. We have clients that have needs that have to be met, and we have to meet them. Yeah. Period. So that self-policing culture is also a big perk of it's. I shouldn't say self-policing. It's a self-enforcing culture. This is our culture, and it enforces itself. Yep. So self-policing might not be the right word, but you know what I'm saying? That it enforces itself. It protects itself. I know that if I bring on 10 people under you in marketing at some point down the road, you're never going to tolerate less. You're never gonna allow for less because this is our standard. This is our standard.
And also, stuff needs to get done. And we know when things are not working, and the leadership team can see if there's a loose screw somewhere in the pipeline.
A big part of establishing a culture and the core values is constantly communicating the core values. I mean, we must do it dozens of times. Right? Before people start, we do it at the interview process. The interview process, we're talking about core values. We give them to the candidates. Yeah. And then we ask questions that reveal whether or not they may be in alignment with it. We don't say, are you in alignment with it? Yeah. We ask questions that will probe whether they're in alignment.
And then when they do make it onto the team, their actions a week in will show if they're in alignment with them or not.
Yeah, the weekend before people start. People start on a Monday. So the weekend before they start, they get an email link. That link is to the employee portal. And we tell them, read these sections. How to succeed at TonaLaw. What are our core values? Again, core values right out of the gate. Yep. They come in the first day. They get a swag bag, right? That swag bag could have sweatshirts, T-shirts, hats, thermoses, all the swag that we've ever given away. We give to the new team members because now they're part of the fabric of TonaLaw, but they also get a copy of the core values day one. Yep. And we will be in the near future putting a copy of it in a frame in every cubicle, right? In every office. I want the core values right in front of people, front and center, because I tell people we hired for this. We discipline for non-alignment. If there's something behavioral going on that doesn't align with our core values, and ultimately we'll terminate based on core value alignment or non-alignment or misalignment, I should say.
That's usually what it comes down to, regardless, though.
Yeah, because so here's the beauty of that. It also removes all the emotion. Like, I hear horror stories and people come in, so-and-so screaming across the office. An owner of a law firm screaming across the office. And who knows whatever personal defects make people do that. I don't know. I could care less. It doesn't matter to me. But for me, it's a non-emotional thing. These are the core values. This is who we are.
Yeah.
You can choose to align, or you don't have to be here. Like we're at that point where I like having people here. I like having the company I have, but I want people that choose to be here because the culture speaks to them. One of the things I say all the time is people come for the money, people stay for the culture. People stay because of the core values. And we've had people like try to test, because a lot of people are putting out there now, it's all about the culture. It's all about the culture. That's all the rave. So we'll have individual people try to test. And then they learn very quickly, but very much about the core values and the culture and protecting them. Yeah. So that's one of the things I now spend about 30 to 50% of my time on any day. It used to be, I would say it was called high-end HR, because I was involved in the recruiting process. I'm not anymore since we hired an HR person. Now it's on the culture. Now it's making sure that there is zero toxicity ever. And so we deploy Candor. And we have a system in place. We deploy Candor, we deploy people first. But we have a system in place to route out toxicity immediately and swiftly. And there is zero wiggle room in that for toxicity. It's not going to happen here, and it doesn't matter who it is. So for me, that is a really good place for us to be, because people are like, this is an amazing culture. I love it here. We're doing things now with our recruiting and onboarding to just weave the fabric of our core value into everything we're doing from the first day through the 90th day of the onboarding process, so that we're accelerating the connections and deepening the connections of the new people coming in with the existing team members. Because it's always rough, and you forget they don't teach you anything about HR in law school. So, I became a great recruiter, right? I learned how to recruit, and I really got good at it because I studied it for like 10 years. Right? Because I became obsessed with it. And managing, I got really good at because I studied it for the same 10 years. Where I was dropping the ball, honestly, was the onboarding piece, right? You hire somebody, they accept the offer, they're starting in 2 weeks. They would come in, and we had no plan. We had no real plan of attack, no real system for helping people integrate into the fabric of the firm. And that changed 4 hires ago. We started to really focus on it. And I feel like we're really getting it right, especially with the advent of the new HR person coming in. And she's just made a really big transformational difference for us. With us. Like Janira and I started hitting it first out of the gate before she got here. And then she just started to amplify everything, systematize everything. So we are leaps and bounds ahead of where we were even 30 days ago on the onboarding process.
Can you really quick define the difference between a fixed mindset and a growth mindset? I feel like you kind of breezed over it a little bit.
Sure. So fixed mindset believe everything is the way it is and not subject to change, and not subject to change by effort or influence. Fixed mindset believes that things happen to them. Okay. Growth mindset is open-minded, humble, and fixed mindset is not humble. Fixed mindset is I know everything about everything, and this is the way it is.
And I'm not going to change. Right?
Yeah. Growth mindset is very humble. It's I know more.
Humble and hungry,
but it's growth mindset is also I reach a point in my life where I go, wow, there's so much I don't know that I can learn. Growth mindset. Did I say growth mindset or fixed mindset with that?
You said growth.
Okay, so growth mindset is also I can influence outcomes with effort.
And I feel like that ties into like the innovation and improvement as well, because you got to have the growth mindset to embody the innovation and improvement.
Right.
Yeah.
The coaching I did with the coaching group that I was involved with for like 10 years, where I was taking group training, one of the challenges was you need to come up with a market innovation that's never been done. Now, the law is not known as the most innovative field.
Nope.
It's probably one of the most stoic, stale, slow-moving fields ever when it comes to innovation.
Which is why people think it's boring.
Right. But it's only boring if you let it be boring. Like I created a software program that I still use to this day. And we're going on like 9 years and we're now doing a new rollout. But the software program gave me a competitive edge. No one else had it. And now I've built a no-fault collections department that I'm not really too worried about anybody that would be deemed a competitor because it will take them 10 years to get to the point that I've gotten at with the software program I built. And that's why clients come to me. They're like, I heard about your software platform. I heard about the way you process this, the systems and the people that you have working the system for no-fault collections.
Yep.
And so that's all because I had a growth mindset. I got annoyed one day that I could not find software that I needed to scale that department. So I built it.
Yeah.
I'm not a software guy. I just knew what I wanted. And I hired a team of developers and designers, and we built the program because I thought that I could.
And you did?
And I did, and I was right. But that's growth mindset, right? I've always had that growth mindset.
Yeah.
So growth mindset is a big, big concept for me. It's actually one of the needle movers I talked about in a prior episode, right?
Yeah.
And then going back to how you implement core values, you have to discuss them till people are like, I get it. Like it's just ingrained, because if it is that important, and it drives every decision. So when people come in and say, look, I have a question, I really don't know how to deal with it, it all goes to the core values.
Yep.
Okay, if it's a legal question, well, what would a superior lawyer do? What would a strategic, obsessive, meticulous lawyer do? And typically they answer the question themselves.
Yeah.
And same thing for people first. Oh, I got this really tough client scenario. What do I do? Be kind, but be truthful. Just be candorous. That's it. And the discipline aspect also comes into all of these types of processes. What does a disciplined person do before they even come in looking for answers, right? Well, they try to find the answers themselves, and they think through the problem and they map it out, and they try to come in with answers for you to choose from at least. So, again, ongoing communication to every team member in every instance and discussing them over lunches, dinners, whatever. To me, anytime you see a company that's doing really well and kind of leaps and bounds ahead, it's typically related to culture. And again, I think that it's probably what I attribute most of the growth success right now to is our core values, So it's really important. The next step in the whole evaluation of core values and analysis is continually reinforcing them and protecting them. So you might have a team member who came on, they were great, but then they do something that really cuts across the core values, right? You got to have a swift conversation. I mean, I'm talking as soon as you can cool down and remove emotion from it, 24, 48 hours later, deal with it with kind candor. Hey, this is our standard. This is what I just observed. This is not in alignment with our standard and our core values. So you have 30 days to bring it up, or we'll be having a different conversation, because not everybody has to align. They just don't have to be here. Let them go somewhere else. You know what I mean? And that might make them happier. And always be examining them. Are you making sure that these core values are really what we're living every day?
And core values are constantly evolving. Like ours have evolved. I mean, they're generally the same that they have been, but we've definitely condensed them and
crystallized them.
Yes, thank you.
100%. So one of the things that I'm constantly doing, both consciously and subconsciously, which I never realized, was that I'm constantly evaluating my levels of trust in people. And a lot of it is the alignment with the core values, right? And I do that on a microsecond basis, subconsciously. And typically, if I'm experiencing some kind of nagging gut distrust of a situation or a person, whether it's a team member or external, right? It could be somebody trying to hire us. It could be a vendor, right? My decisions get made pretty quick on a subconscious level without me even thinking about it.
Yeah.
And it's done silently, internally. And it involves the fact that I'm constantly studying people. And so for me, trust is very binary.
Yeah.
And we've talked about the binariness of trust with me. So yeah, I think the core values are constantly being reevaluated and the alignment with them, with everybody I interact.
Yeah. That's why I love the plus minus model, by the way.
Right.
I love it.
I know. Yeah. So I think that one of the cool parts of it is this, and where I knew I was onto something. We really started to crystallize this. And then I said, well, look, this is such a strong part of who we are that I really have to make this part of the recruiting process, right? So I started running ads on all the platforms, Indeed, social media, and I would really talk about our core values, put them in the ads, whatever. And then people started copying them.
Yes.
You're laughing, but people started copying the cultural stuff that we were putting out there.
Yeah.
Except what people didn't realize in the local market is their team members were applying for jobs with us.
You can't fake culture.
You can't fake culture. You can't fake core values. So those employees would come in for interviews and they would tell us what was really going on behind the scenes. And what was going on behind the scenes was not in alignment with what they were advertising as their core values and their culture.
Yeah.
You cannot fake culture, which really gives me a competitive edge because this is who we are. Our culture, all the things we just talked about is who we are. There is nothing that we ever deviate from with that. So our core values are real.
Yeah.
We follow them and they can't be fake.
And
so you're better off picking up different core values. Like if you're a law firm owner and it's just about the money for you, then just say, we're about the money. Right?
Yeah.
You'll attract people, clients, team members that are just about the money.
There's no right or wrong. It's just what applies to you.
Yes, but if you're putting it out there because it sounds good on a postcard,
and then you're not doing it.
Sounds good on an ad, you're going to attract people that want that. But then the minute they're there, you're going to repel them. They're going to leave. You're going to have high turnover. And then they tell the other people in the marketplace.
Yeah.
So, just be who you are. Be authentic about your core values. That's really important.
Yeah. And I feel like
you can't copy core values from somebody else. Like I sit in these masterminds and I would sit next to this one guy. He's a really good friend of mine. And they would say, all right, write down your initial thoughts on your core values. I write them down. He's looking over my shoulder. I go, what are you doing, man? You can't copy my core values. With different law firms we run. And we would just joke around because then he would just start to do his own. But he would pretend to be copying mine. But people who know, you cannot just copy them. You cannot just look up online a list of 100 core values and then pick 5 that sound good. It took me 10 years to crystallize these things, to crystallize the culture that we have right now. But that's why our recruiting looks the way it does. Our retention looks the way it does. Our staff surveys look the way they do. The engagement looks the way it does. So yeah, I think that anybody that's listening to this, whether they're running a law firm or even if they're the general public, you want a law firm that is putting out there the type of culture that you align with, right?
Yeah.
So if you're looking for a lawyer that cares about people, gets fantastic results in litigation because they practice superior lawyering and believes in all the ideals that we believe in, all the core values we have, these are things you can ask about, by the way, when you're interviewing attorneys. Right? Like, what does your firm stand for? Most firms won't even have an answer for you. We help the injured. Great. So does every other personal injury firm around. So does every other personal injury around. Ask them, what are the core values that your firm is built upon? How many firms are even going to have an answer for you?
And that's going to tell you a lot about who you're working with.
On that note, I think we're done unless you have any other questions for me.
You talk about core values so much. On LinkedIn, we talk about it all the time on our social medias like TikTok, Instagram, Facebook. We put it out everywhere. So I feel like sometimes people come in and they're actually surprised at how this place works and how everybody in their seats actually aligns with the core values in their own ways. Everybody has their own reasonings and stuff. But people sometimes are onboarded and they're like, oh, like you guys weren't messing around.
Yeah, I think that one of the things I'm learning through the whole process of doing what I'm doing now is I can't believe the number of really traumatic experiences incoming team members have gone through at the hands of employers, of other law firms.
Yeah.
And I'm not saying that to pat myself on the back. I'm telling you that I had an attorney in my office the other day. We were just talking about something. We have a lot in common. And he said he's been practicing 8 years. He's never felt free to have any communications with the owners of the law firm or the partners of the law firm. And in my head, I'm thinking, this poor guy, like, how are you supposed to become an effective litigator? And he's been doing it 8 years. Like, he's very effective at what he does. But how are you supposed to run an effective business if your team members are encouraged to not talk to you about anything? Like, that's the model. So candor is, with me, a really key core value. I want my team to communicate with me. And the same standard applies for me. Just be kind, but be direct. Be direct. That's fine. I can handle it. I'm a big boy. So you're laughing, but I mean, I can't tell you the number of horror stories I've heard about people who are screaming at the top of their lungs at their entire staff through intercom.
Just unnecessary.
Because they lack systems for file processing. So they're screaming at the top of their lungs.
When something falls through the cracks.
When something falls through the cracks. And like, one of the things about the Extreme Ownership book by Jocko Willink that was great is, and I've always led this way, is when things are going great and things are going right, that's the team. They get the credit.
Yep.
I don't get the credit for that. When things are wrong, wherever there's a breakdown, that's on me. Either I have a system that failed, or I have a system that wasn't followed, or my system wasn't a realistic system. There was something wrong with it, right? But whatever it is, failures and breakdowns are on me. And successes and wins, those are the teams. And that's how I've always run this thing. You'll never hear me take credit for anything going right. I am a good leader. I am a strong leader. That's all I'll ever say. And I say that humbly because I take it as a real responsibility I have to lead people effectively, right? People want to be well led.
Yeah.
That doesn't mean they want to be bossed around. That definitely does not mean they want to be treated subhuman like some of the horror stories I hear. So my core values allow me to lead effectively.
Yeah.
And I think that people are very much happy with what we've created as a culture here. So before we go, I want to say thank you to everybody tuning in. I know you don't have to spend time with us, but the fact that you do, I love that.
We appreciate it.
We really appreciate it. So please, if you like what you're hearing, you can find us anywhere that podcasts are distributed, and you can leave us feedback, leave us a 5-star review. And if you want, reach out to us on social media or on the web, and with any questions you have or any topics you'd like to go over, and we will be glad to address them.
Yep. Thank you, everybody, for listening.
That's it. We're out.
Bye.
Bye.